people.
It just the other one just keeps shutting off
Oh shit.
for no reason. For no reason, just shutting off. And that's the one I only use for podcasting.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I have one just for podcasting and one for something else. So,
Yeah, now you got to move everything over.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
No problem.
Okay, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. What's up, YouTube? We're live, okay? It's been a minute since I've been live, but I am live now. So let's just get something started. I have a guest today. So introduce yourself. Go ahead, J.V.B.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm J.V.B, known to some as Jose Betancourt on Twitter. I've been podcasting since 2005, YouTube for a while, and do photography on the side, and play video games too.
Okay. Before I get into this, I'm just going to say that it seems that people just want to hear the same old things. They don't want to hear about the fun you're having with games. They don't want to hear about the fun, about gaming, like in general, a particular game you're playing. A lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to hear the drama and the bullshit. Yep. So I'm going to get into some things that I guess they want to hear about. Okay. So like based on the stuff I'm seeing on Twitter, we got some things, like I said, to discuss. Okay. Now I shouldn't be surprised at all with the Xbox community. Okay. Which I'm not. I'm not. I'm not even shocked at the dumb shit that they say on Twitter anymore. I'm not.
No.
I'm not. And I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying that because I have to repeat myself. I mean, I keep repeating. I mean, this is going on 7, 8 years. I'm repeating myself. Okay. And people still want to hear the same stuff. Okay. But what I am going to ask is, when is enough enough? I mean, really, Jose, when's enough with these people?
It's never enough.
I mean, here's an example. When does the porting begging stop? When does the lies get old? I mean, it's the same old shit. I mean, PlayStation gets a new game and the Xbox community brags about features or power or specs. All right, PlayStation gets a new game, but they're bragging about power and specs. all these things are supposed to take a backseat to gaming. It
Yeah.
really is.
In
You know, let's
in the big scheme of things, yeah, it does take a back seat, but because we're involved and more into the know of all these video game, amongst these video game creators and trolls, we see the nonsense that goes on.
right. I mean, I mean, we're just making that clear, okay? It's a gaming console. That's what they are. They're gaming consoles. So having a gaming consoles, it's about the games, okay? That's what we're trying to make, absolutely clear. And at the bare minimum, you don't buy a console, uh, based on the other things. Um, I mean, you do, but you don't. I mean, you don't base it on, watching movies and all that. It's supposed to be gaming.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Um, you don't create narratives like my console can play YouTube movies at 8K resolution. Okay. And so and and so can a variety of other devices. You know what I'm saying? But I don't hear you talking about those specs at all. Okay. Um, we don't reduce gaming to features. Okay. It makes no sense for the people that have put in the time. It really
hmm
doesn't. And
yeah,
that's exactly what that's exactly what it's more of the Xbox community. If you go to Twitter, it's more the Xbox community. Now, I'm going to say something that many of you should be able to relate to in the chat. Okay. Before Twitter, before social media, before big events like Evo or your PlayStation showcases and Xbox shows, gaming was a misunderstood hobby in your daily life. Okay.
yep.
Um, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
On
You were labeled what they call it, a basement dweller.
or a nerd
Yeah,
or weirdo or something.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
And it was on your favorite TV shows, in your movies, and in the media. Before social media, gamers like us would roll our eyes at people that didn't understand the dynamics of gaming, the
Oh yeah.
fundamentals of gaming, the essence of gaming, the principles of gaming. Okay. We would roll our eyes at them and be like, what's
hmm
wrong with these people? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
we were an
because
exclusive
it was,
club.
we were, okay. Because it was always about having fun, people, and immersing yourself and just immersing yourself into something outside of the norm.
Yeah, yeah. And
That's what it was
you
about.
would think that be you would think people would welcome that more nowadays because there's so much stress going on, regardless where you're at or where you work. You
Yeah.
figured that people would enjoy the escape that video games gives you, but no, they totally,
No,
like you've
that
been saying, they totally focus on something outside of
no,
what we the reason why we're all here.
exactly. Um, and it also gaming, it's also about stepping, up to a challenge and overcoming it.
Yeah, yeah.
Video games can be challenging. Let's overcome it. Challenge yourself, people. Get off Twitter and wherever YouTube and go challenge yourself.
I know, like I joked around saying how when I was playing Qbert and how I spent so much money on Qbert, and then the one day where with 1 quarter I was able to get over 4 million points, and with 1 quarter, and that came because I spent money on Qbert trying to learn how to play it, and all of a sudden one day it all clicked. Now it never came back to where I got millions of points, but I was pretty good after that. And nowadays everybody wants, especially with play to win type of business models they have now. People just
Hmm.
want that instant gratification and then they just move along. There's no real skill.
Yeah. But I mean, you got to, I mean, that's what gaming's about. And like you said earlier, with the times that we're going through right now, okay, why be on Twitter acting? Actually, I think some of these people, you know, must be asymptomatic and have COVID because they're saying dumber shit as time goes by.
Yeah, yeah, it's really
You
messed
know what I'm
up a lot of
saying?
people. Like they've just maybe they didn't have much of a life before, and now that there's even less access to the streets, their life is like really dependent on what happens on social media. And we got to remember, this is the internet, so we're going to see a lot of weird people. And
Yeah.
because Twitter is a free platform, and so is YouTube, the crazies have a soapbox to stand on, and the louder they are, the more attention they seem to get. And that's just basically our society as a whole. Look at the guy that was president before us. I mean, he's basically a reflection of what Twitter is all about.
I'm glad you said it and I didn't have to. Because
I know
there are
you got to
some,
say it. You got to say it very carefully.
yeah, there are some tards out there that put the name in front of it, and that's what I call it, that are still doing crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? And
Definitely.
listen, we got to get past this. Let's move on. Let's get something straight in this world. If we, I mean, we're trying to at least, while the politicians, if you can call them that, are doing their thing, okay, we're trying to at least keep gaming right, which I'm going to ask you about something later. But the
Hmm.
community is not, a lot of people in the community are just like, I don't know, they're spaced out there. And I've been saying this for over 8 years now. So,
Yeah, yeah.
you
There's no
know,
coincidence that if you look at the timeline between when Twitter was, because I was on Twitter like when it was like, what the hell is a Twitter? And then few of my friends, we got on it to somewhat stay in touch with the community. But then the larger the Twitter universe became, the dumber people became. And then you have TikTok and you have Instagram, and you see like the same types of behavior no matter where you go. It's all about getting that attention. And the stupider you can be, the more attention somehow you manage to get. And unfortunately, with that stupidity and attention comes the sponsorships and notoriety. To where when
yeah.
we were growing up, if you did some of the dumb things these people are doing now, nobody would be your friend. Nobody would pay attention to you, and you'd be forced to grow up.
That's true. Now, there's one thing I'm going to say, and I'm sure you'll agree. We are in an era where you see movie stars, okay, and your sitcoms include video game references.
Yep.
Why? Because of people like us who broke the mold.
Hmm. Yeah, the people in our from our era are the ones who are still making the games, who are still running the publishers. We're responsible for this whole entire thing. Of course, a new generation will come around and take our place, but there's no mistake that a game like, or a book, because it was a book, a Ready Player One, and then it became a movie. And then you see like all these movies centered around the 80s, like Stranger Things. There's a reason for that, because it was such a memorable time. And if you look at the difference between what we're going through now and what we were fortunate enough to experience as kids, you see
Hmm.
no creativity. Even though we're living in a time with unbelievable technology, we have no creativity as far as individuals, as far as movies, music. It's embarrassing. Like every movie wants to be a remake. Musicians
Oh,
are
I hate
using
when they
auto
do that.
tunes. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
weird. It's like there's
especially when
no
they do sequels and they
individualism.
mess them up.
Oh, they destroy them.
They
Now they want to
destroy
make
sequels.
they want
Well,
to
why
make they
don't
want
you
to
make
remake
five of them?
Big Trouble Little China. I'm like, how can you do that? And why would you even bother?
Yeah, they do that and they just mess up stuff. It's just like they'll take a video game and try to make it into a movie
Yeah.
and mess. No, stop.
There's only been
So
a few video game movies that have been somewhat okay. One of them was Mortal
yeah,
Kombat. Um, and I can't really even think of the other one. Like, I'm sure there's another one, but I can't think of it right now. So that tells you a
yeah.
lot.
I just want to say hello to a couple people in the chat. What up, Lincoln Clay, Sinister, and Philip? What's going on? Okay, now with what I was going with now, we as gamers, we stood the test of time back when the news told you video games made you violent or that video games impair your mental development.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that maybe if you stood on the Xbox side, maybe. But
Damn, I almost spit
you
something
know,
out. I was drinking.
sorry, I didn't mean to make you
Give
do
me a
that.
warning.
Uh, the features didn't do that. That Xbox just keeps these Xbots keep talking about. They're talking about features. No, the games did, and the gamers did. Okay, the specs didn't do that. We did it with gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Listen,
Yeah.
people, we did it with gameplay. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
No, when the Xbox 360 was at its peak, and I was an Xbox MVP, and I was heavily involved within the Xbox community, and I
Oh, I
literally
love the
was blown.
360. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome, and they took advantage that Sony had screwed up, and that advantage worked out for them. Now, we know what happened like the last few years of the
Mm-hmm.
360 life cycle, but when they were focused and they were like on their game, the community, we monitored each other. If someone was saying outlandish things on a podcast or on social feeds, we called them out and we're like, this is unacceptable. And our point, the whole reason why we used to monitor each other was because, like you stated, gamers were given, uh, we were characterized as losers or, you know,
Mm-hmm. No
introverts.
life.
Yeah, no
No
life.
life.
And so here was the Xbox 360 making its way into the mainstream because they really focused a lot on having celebrities showing off the Xbox 360. Even with the Xbox, the original one, The Rock was with Bill
Mm-hmm.
Gates in Times Square. So Microsoft pushed really hard to have a lot of mainstream media folk pushing the 360. And so here we are as a community trying to be what we were going against what people thought we were. And so publishers started to see that Microsoft was heavily involved with the community. They involved the community a lot. I was flown twice to preview games at the campus. And unfortunately, when they had the big user base, they got rid of that. But we did a great job of maintaining a certain respect that the publishers could look at, the developers could look at, the companies, and also the people who used to make fun of us. Like
Right.
not to take over, but here's a story when I first started podcasting, and I moved to Florida. I do elevators. Well, I used to anyway before I got injured. So I was doing my apprenticeship in Florida, and I was telling a coworker that I do this thing called podcasting, and he's like, "Internet radio? Why don't you just listen to the radio?" I said, "No, this is different. You can download it when you want. You can listen to it when you want." "Oh, that sounds cool. What do you talk about?" "Video games." And he's like, "You're 30 years old and you talk about video games?" I said, "Absolutely." So, and this is a dude who used to live in Long Island. So I was kind of surprised he had that kind of reaction. He goes, "I'm going to call you Donkey Kong." I said, "Well, I hate to
Oh.
tell you, but there's more games besides Donkey Kong currently available." So I had to deal with that every time I told people what a podcast was. And then finally I told them what I was talking about. They will give me this freaking look. So it took a long time for people to accept both of those situations, and especially coming from an adult.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The stuff I see now, like you, I see it and it annoys me. But at the end of the day, it's what people want to see, and that's very unfortunate.
It is. Now, what I said before, right? About how we did it, it wasn't the specs and all that, it was our gameplay. It
Yep.
was the and because of us, it was the passion of the developers to create better experience to cater to our demands, the consumer,
Yeah.
because of our gameplay. And this is what the bots are not getting that are on Twitter talking their shit. Okay. They're really not. All right. And it's for the same reason that Xbox community doesn't understand simple things like this. They don't. And the reason why I brought this up is because you have all these Xbox ambassadors and Xbox extremists, um, 8 years later, still praising Microsoft for nothing. They praise them for nothing. Instead of supporting the platform you pull your Superman cape out for, you waste resources. You really
Yeah.
do. They really do. There, I mean, there are Xbox fanboys right now that still say shit like, well, why don't we get a sequel to this game?
Hmm.
Even though their community hasn't supported the game in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you didn't support the first one. Why do you want a sequel? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that makes no sense. Okay, and I can't even blame the Xbox division at this point. Okay, I can't. About 3 years ago, they showed off Hellblade 2 trailer, and they're taking their sweet ass time releasing this game. Okay, and
Yeah.
why? Why shouldn't they take their sweet ass time? Honestly, why shouldn't they? Would you, as a developer, make it a top priority, okay, to release games to a community that isn't going to support it, to a community that champions Game Pass?
Yeah. That's a scary thought.
I mean, honestly, would you? I mean, just all right. Here's another thing. Just look at Halo Infinite reveal. Okay, the game looked like an early Xbox 360 game on next gen hardware.
Yep.
Okay, on next gen hardware at the bare minimum. Okay, these Xbox games are barely keeping up with the 360 or the PS3, let alone the PS4. You would think at the very least these new games would would at least, I don't know, at least these games would be on par with the PS5 title or at least a late PS4 title. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. When I
But
saw that
look at
Halo Infinite release, I was in shock, just like everybody else. Well, not everybody, because there were people who were actually crying. And some of these people do esport commentary, and they're crying on a like a video, highlight video, and saying how beautiful it looks. So yeah, not everybody was like in shock, but I was, because that's how I started podcasting. I started podcasting on a Halo podcast, and so I came up as a big Halo fan. I still am, but unfortunately, there's no new Halo game, so I'm gonna wait till the game is released. But
okay,
people
here's the
were
thing
like,
though.
yeah, go ahead.
No, here's the thing though. You said these people were crying, right? And say it was beautiful.
Mhm.
Okay. But it looks like 2 generation goes graphics. Okay.
I
You
know.
talk about, yeah, and these are the same people that talk about there's so much power in the graphics and specs and all this other shit, and you're not getting it in the games.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
which
where's
which
the
is crazy.
power?
Yep.
Where's the power? They're not
Yeah.
using it if they have it.
No, they definitely not. And it just goes to show that reveal was not ready. And unfortunately, Microsoft kind of backed themselves into a corner by saying, we're showing Halo Infinite for the first time. And then this is what they had to show, which I've stated back when I was a freaking Microsoft MVP and I was still considered a big Xbox fanboy. I said it from day one. I said this management team is messing things up. And of course, that didn't sit well with the people that I was cool with. So, but I saw the writing on the wall. The management team, once Peter Moore left, I was like, how can a guy with that much industry experience come to a job that a lot of us think is a dream job and then all of a sudden just leave? What's going on? And then we saw how Connect became the focal point. And then it was like, oh crap, they're not taking this as serious as they used to. And that's not a good look. And then once the Xbox One was announced and released, then everything I was saying was coming to light. It was the management. The management, there was no way that Halo Infinite trailer or gameplay should have hit the airwaves because that thing looked horrible. It was embarrassing,
Mm-hmm.
especially
Yep,
for
you're
Halo
right.
fans.
But see, that's what I was saying. I mean, you know, these people need to imagine when they talk about feature specs and power all day, and games come out looking like Halo Infinite. I mean, just think about that. This is what you talk about all day,
And medium, and the medium too.
and it comes out like that. What does that make sense to you? They need to go and look in the mirror and say, you know, I think I messed. I need to stop talking about this. Go talk to yourself or something. Go look in
Yeah,
the
right.
mirror and say, you're an idiot. Stop talking about this. Look at what they're giving us. I mean, since it's COVID time, look in the mirror and just
Yep.
like, or at least get on
Watch
a
it.
podcast with your fellow idiots and say, listen, we were jackasses.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah. Watch
know,
some
we're talking out our
Richard Little
ass.
videos or something for inspiration.
Do something.
But
They
you know
need to
what's
do
crazy though?
something.
Some of
What's that?
well, most of those guys own the PlayStation 5 as well. So they're technically not missing out. It's just I feel that they see an opportunity to be in this group of people that somehow gets attention from management, and they feel like, look, I got an industry connect. Phil is my friend, so is Aaron Greenberg and Larry Herb,
Phil
and
Spencer
I
ain't
know all these.
nobody's damn friend.
Exactly. Phil Spencer's there to make money for the brand, to run a brand. He has people he needs to answer to. So does Aaron Greenberg. I met Aaron Greenberg quite a few times. Same thing with Larry Herb. Those guys are genuinely. I know for a fact Aaron and Larry Herb, aka Major Nelson. Those guys genuinely love video games. I know that for a fact. And as much as I make fun of them, I could never question that because I've seen it myself. But maybe Phil Spencer does as well. But at the end of the day, Microsoft is a freaking corporation and they see the direction the brand is taking. So they want to take another direction. Same thing with their Office 360. What they did with Zune, they went from hardware with Zune to software, a music service. I mean, they tried a movie service with their I forgot what they used to call that. So they're accustomed. I mean, that's how they make their bread and butter. They have these services, these subscriptions, and they're a software company.
Okay, I
So
understand. Yeah, but you know what though? They need to understand that they made video consoles, not service
yeah,
consoles.
hmm
Video game consoles. They're making gaming consoles. Okay, not service consoles. That's what the Xbox division is supposed to be about. Gaming, not services. And they're
exactly.
pushing everything to services, and that's where they lost their sight. And then you got all these people behind them saying, oh well, they're doing a good thing, they care about. They don't give a goddamn shit about your ass. Stop saying it. It's
Nope.
about the almighty dollar. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's all it's
Absolutely.
about.
The rich get richer, and that is for a reason. I used to work in sales, and I was okay at it I had a period
Been
where,
there, done that.
yeah, and it's not something I want to go back to, but there was a period where you know, I got laid off from elevators and I had to do something in the meantime. And my boy was who believe it or not, I met through Xbox Live. He hooked me up with a job selling cars. And I was like, yo, I don't sell. And he's like, we'll train you, blah, blah, blah. And then one of the things they told me was because we worked near Connecticut, and I would see the applications and I would see how much these people made a year. And some of them made $1 million a year. And my friend goes, just because they have money doesn't mean they want to spend it. So they're going to be the cheapest motherfuckers who are going to come in here and demand some big ass discount. So stop thinking because people got money, they want to spend it. That's how they maintain their money.
Mhm.
So there's no difference with these huge corporations. Look at Bill Gates. He went and did something in, I wish I knew the country. That's the ramifications of a head injury. But he went and built these toilets, right? These recyclable toilets or something where they could recycle the water for drinking water. I think it was India where the trash
I,
was thrown
I'm
into
sorry.
the drinking
That
water.
was a nice idea, but you ain't recycling the water that I
Oh,
just took a.
no, I know that. But you know what? Bill Gates, as rich as he is, he still
Mhm.
went and asked for money to do that. So
Yeah,
I mean, that just goes to show you, you know.
yeah. Here's another thing. To make matters worse, okay, when we get back to the Twitter shit, okay, and the Xbox fanboys, um, you then have Xbox fanboys, and yeah, I'm going to say his name, even though it's his big ass. I'm gonna say his name, okay? Kmega, port begging, okay, okay.
Yeah, I don't follow him, so
Well, I don't follow him, but he's on Twitter, and you see it
yeah,
everywhere, and people tell me about it.
yeah, that's true. That's
Did
true.
what he said? So you get references, and you see this shit.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true.
But port begging. You have Xbox fanboys asking why fighting games aren't on their console without looking at their own history. Now, I was going to say more. Before I do that, I just remember something. When it came to Kmega, okay, I'm gonna put your ass out there, okay, because you talk about you want
Damn.
fighting games over there, okay. You can't even play Kill Instinct, okay. I saw that crappy shit that you put up as videos, okay. You cannot play, okay. You put the shittiest things, and you could tell you just mashing buttons, okay. The videos are trash,
Which
okay. If
fighting
I
games
have
does he want though? I mean, they have Mortal Kombat, they have
Yeah,
Killer
but
Instinct.
what I'm saying is they'll ask for it, but they don't support them, and they can't play them. They're not a
Yeah,
big fighting game community.
it's a
They
big.
really
It's an
aren't.
acquired skill for the fighting community. They're very talented people.
I mean, that's one thing I will give Xbox when it comes to Kill Instinct. I love it. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, he can't play though. He can't play. I mean, just go look it up, you know about fighting games. Just go look it up and just look at just look at one or two of his videos. But don't be drinking nothing or eating nothing while you're doing it, because you're gonna choke and you're gonna laugh your ass off. Okay? Because he think he got skill.
Look, I
He,
remember
he,
when
he got skill with a fork and knife, but
I
he ain't got
remember
no
I remember
skill with fighting games.
when Killer Instinct first came out and those graphics, we were like, "Oh my god, these graphics are unbelievable! Never seen anything like that."
Mm-hmm.
And when it came out in
Yep.
Nintendo 64, it was like, "Oh my god, it looks almost like the arcade." But my son, he plays Super Smash Ultimate on the Switch, and he told me all the crap that people need to go through, not crap, skill that people need to acquire, like learning how to read animations, learning when to block properly. I mean, he told me like the whole story of all the things that he needs to look at when he's playing a fighting match or when he's playing a match online. And so the fighting community, they're legit. And unfortunately, fighting games, like serious fighting games, aren't huge system sellers, but they are better for like the competitive market in the
Yeah.
competitive circuit.
Yeah.
But
So,
what they got Killer Instinct, and then they get Mortal Kombat, right?
mhm.
What else? I know Sony has
I
more exclusives for fighting games, but what else do they want?
Well, I'm going to let's get more into this topic because, like I said, seeing Kmega's tweet, and this is not the first time he's tweeted stupid shit about fighting games. It really isn't. It really isn't. Okay, Killer Instinct was the most ambiguous fighting games in years.
You talking about the original or the one on Xbox?
The original,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's also one of the most ambitious fighting games
Yeah,
in
and it had a
years.
crazy soundtrack too, all rock and roll and everything.
Yeah, this game was built from the ground up. It was built as a passion project. The developers made sure that they took um, everything from the original Killer Instinct and made it 100 times better. Okay, the game has one of the a one of a kind soundtrack, which
Mm-hmm.
when you do combos, and I don't even know if you're a fighting game and you like get into stuff, you'll know this. Okay, when you do combos, the music actually changes. The
Yeah,
music in Killer Instinct reacts to everything you do. And
that's pretty good.
and that still wasn't enough for this game to get support from the Xbox community. Matter of fact, when it comes to sales, Microsoft answered in the same fashion that they did for their console sales. They counted users.
Well, remember, it was like the first game, the first exclusive to really do that whole subscriber system because it was like seasons, right, for Killer Instinct on the Xbox.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I
but
guess they use it as an experiment.
yeah, Killer Instinct also was at a standstill in sales for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, until it was included in Games for Gold. The funny part is the game is a free to play fighter with one rotating fighter per week. So you don't even
Oh,
need to buy the game. Okay. The developers wanted you to try the game.
hmm
Okay. They wanted you to try the game before buying it. They didn't limit the time you could play it. You could play matches online and you could even choose the fighters you wanted to buy in the game. Okay. And that's not all. Once they released the definitive edition, they gave you the original Killer Instinct and Killer Instinct 2 both.
that's crazy. That's a really good
Okay.
deal.
Both, yeah, both with online though, arcade and training mode. They
I
gave
get.
Xbox all that, and the bots didn't give them the time of day. The people that supported Killer Instinct were the hardcore fighting game fans, not the podcasters, not the YouTube content creators, not the Xbox fanboys crying about fighting games not coming to their platform. Okay, it wasn't any of those. Okay,
Yeah,
according to the Xbox logic, okay, we should be able to play, whatever game we want on whatever console we want. They they
man.
don't value product identity. They really don't. They don't value tradition. They don't even care that the product identity is what saved gaming in the first place. All the way back when the Nintendo Entertainment System created the formula, Nintendo understood that exclusivity create demand, and demand equals what? People, sales.
Yep.
Okay? You could only play Mario on Nintendo. Does it make sense for Nintendo to put Mario on on another console or other consoles and devalue their product because people are bitching, about it being on their console of not being on their console of choice? No, of course not. If you like what you see, then buy it.
Exactly.
Okay,
It's
and I'm
always
gonna
been the
say it.
case.
That's business 101. How stupid do you? I mean, honestly, how stupid do you have to be not to get that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of the people that are making the most noise either started gaming maybe with the Xbox One or are too young. But the crash of 83 occurred because every week there was like a new freaking console. There was like a plethora of bad video games that were releasing like every freaking day. And the market finally said, you know what? No, we're not doing this. And that's why the crash occurred. And then Nintendo obviously came back. And like you said, they introduced the Nintendo Entertainment System, Rob the Robot. They brought a character from Donkey Kong who was Mario, and made him an icon, an industry icon. So imagine, like you said, if Nintendo said, you know what, Atari, we know you messed up by bringing out 8 freaking consoles in a matter of 2 months. Here's Mario on your system as well. No, that would have never worked out. Nintendo wouldn't be here, and the home console market probably wouldn't be here either. It's like saying Android and Apple should share phones, like the same bodies, or Porsche and Ford should, interchange their freaking vehicles. It's that brand identity. People buy a Rolex. Why? Not only because it is, has superb craftsmanship and material, but it is an icon within any industry, whether it's business, movies, music. If you have a Rolex, you're known as Mr. Money in the Bank, right? So
Right.
I don't know. It's just ignorance. I mean, that's all I could think about when I see these people talk like that. It's ignorance, and it shouldn't be taken serious. But because, once again, I always go back to the dumbest things generate the most interest, and
That's true.
it's so unfortunate.
It is. It is. I mean, it's been 8 years of Xbox fanboys proving that they're still the clowns of the industry. I mean, honestly, and I noticed that whenever there's a new PlayStation game, there's always an Xbot on Twitter saying how unfair it is. Okay, that these games aren't on their consoles. Okay, I mean, come on, because it's a PlayStation game. Isn't it
Yeah.
funny how? But listen to this though, Jose. Isn't it funny how Nintendo is never a part of that conversation?
No,
How
we accept
PC
it.
isn't a part of, and how PC isn't a part of that conversation?
Hmm.
Okay, you know, wait a minute. Maybe I'm tripping, but I seem to remember Xbox fanboys saying that PlayStation games are all the same.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why
3D
would you want it
walking
on? Yeah,
simulators.
exactly. I could have sworn we had nothing but that's you saying walking simulators or games, just like The Last of Us.
Hmm.
I mean, who else remembers them saying PlayStation's games have the same formula?
Yeah, I remember there was like a photo going around with like the same, saying, "Oh, look at the same template for every PlayStation exclusive." Unfortunately, you know, it was a laugh. I saw it. I got a little chuckle, but it took off, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not surprised at that either."
Okay, but this is what I'm saying. You're complaining that you're not getting these games ported over there, okay? But yet you say all these things about PlayStation games. So what is it? Make up your mind.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. They don't have a mind. They just
No,
say
they
the
don't. They
dumbest.
don't.
They just say the dumbest shit.
So check it out. Like, we know that there are some people who are very influential in the Xbox community, and I'm not going to name names because I don't follow them, so I'm not going to name them. But for the most part, you know who I'm talking about. But the funny thing is, they have this big audience, and they have these people who basically mimic everything they say, or Phil Spencer or Aaron Greenberg. But the funny thing is, when you see Phil Spencer or these big YouTubers showing off their PlayStation 5, nobody within that fan base questions them. and they still maintain this loyalty to them. Meanwhile, the people that they basically admire, worship, whatever you want to call it, are full of it because they don't want to miss out on what the competition has to give them. So it makes no sense. And all I can think of is number one, it's just a group of people that are so ignorant and don't, like you said, they don't have a mind of their own, that they flock to the people that tell them, look, what you own, I own it, and it's the greatest thing in the world. Now, do you feel better about yourself? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go play my PlayStation. So I don't know. I don't know. These, it's gotten to the point years ago. I was like, I'm giving up from trying to ever make sense out of what's going on, and because it's just as long as Twitter and Facebook and YouTube are free, and these people have this soapbox, they're always going to make the same noise, and it's always going to be the same people.
It's true. You just said something like about not making sense. I get tired of when I put facts on Twitter, having a gang of Xbox fanboys arguing with me about shit uh, they didn't do. Instead of supporting the games you want, you're waiting for Game Pass and complaining about how complaining about having low quality games. You know what I'm saying? And with that said, I think we should just move on to the next topic because we can actually go on with this forever. Because, like you said, X, they just make no sense. And you, no matter, you could put the facts right in front of them, lay it all out, and they'll still say you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They will.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say one of the and Xbox fanboys aren't the only ones looking spooky out here. They really aren't. Okay. Which is going to lead me into my next topic. Okay. The Bethesda deal has some people looking very spooky on these gaming streets. They really do. Okay. Now, I'm going to rewind back time to when I first heard about Bethesda and the Xbox deal possibly happening, and ran with the same narrative. Okay. If you feel like you as a gamer are gonna miss out on games from Bethesda, okay, get an Xbox or a PC.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's that simple.
Just like Xbox, we tell Xbox fanboys, if you want the game, get a PlayStation, get an Xbox or a PC. Okay, there's no difference. Okay, the best thing Microsoft and the Xbox division can do is to stick to their guns and keep these games on the platform they said they were going to put them on. Okay, that's what they need to do. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if Bethesda's games come to PlayStation or Nintendo down the line, then a deal means nothing on paper. It really doesn't. I'm curious to see what the Xbox division is going to do with this. I really am. Will they keep their promise? Or will this be a timed exclusive deal? What do you think?
Well, to me, Microsoft treats this deal as an asset, the same way Microsoft treats Word and Office 360. If it's going to make money on an Apple platform, then they're going to put it over there. If it's going to make money, Bethesda game's going to make money on a Sony platform, yeah, they're going to put it over there as well. I would personally keep it exclusive, but if you have that audience and that user base, then why lose out on money? And Microsoft is not in the business to lose out on money. So I feel that where Sony, they have PlayStation as their big breadwinner, Microsoft, and I know this for a fact because I have friends who used to work in Microsoft, it was always like the little brother that was trying, and people within the organization didn't really care for the Xbox brand. And you can see that right now because remember back in the day when Halo was coming out, it was everywhere. It was all over the buses, the train stations, potato chips.
Yep.
And when the last Halo came out, which I believe it or not, I don't remember if it was 5 or 6 because that's how interesting I wasn't interested. I was in it, but the fact is, it was not as heavily promoted as it used to be, and that was worrisome. So, yeah, I think Microsoft sees this Bethesda and ZeniMax deal as an asset, and they're going to make money with this asset. A lot of people are making these speculations on both ends. My big thing is wait, because anything can change. We've seen how fast the industry can turn on its head. So anything can change from now until whenever the first game is finally ready, which is crazy because the first game from one of those studios is coming to the PlayStation 5. So that the Xbox guys got to wait a little even longer for like a legitimate studio developed game to come out and see where it's going to come out on.
Yeah, I mean they're getting crazy about Bethesda, but in this deal, but now when it comes to Bethesda games, I thought The Evil Within was all right. I definitely like Skyrim. I love Fallout. Okay, but the rest are all debatable. That includes games like Wolfenstein and Doom.
Yeah.
I didn't care for these games that much. Okay, but if I wanted to play any upcoming games, okay, honestly, I'm just gonna get a PC, because I'm not spending any money on an Xbox Series X. I'm just not going to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
there is nothing about the console that really sticks out to me. Since its launch, the Xbox division has only been talking about backwards compatibility, which is a huge problem. Okay, they're not talking about new games or other games. There are people that still talk about Gears of War 5, an Xbox One game, or people that brag about old games on new consoles. I mean, that's all they're doing.
Yeah.
Honestly, the difference between a PS5 and Xbox, um, is that we are actually seeing the upcoming games for the PS5. Okay.
Hmm.
Granted, most of the games are coming to PS4. Okay. Before anybody says anything. Okay. I still think the PS4 is a capable console with a lot to offer. Okay. But there are still exclusive games for the PS5. Um, where are the exclusive games for the Xbox? Honestly, where are they? Better yet, I haven't even I'm not even sure why anybody cares about Bethesda deal because the Xbox division acquired Ninja Theory about 3 years ago. They have yet to drop a new game on the Xbox.
Which was
They
a
haven't.
well, didn't
That's
they bring out that like multiplayer game that people played for like 1 week? Blood
I don't
something.
even
I forgot.
I,
Yeah, wasn't it like
okay.
the big joke
All
was
right,
their side
all
project?
right, if it was a 1 week thing, it wasn't something that should have been out anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I
You
mean,
know
the
what I'm
1 week
saying?
thing is a joke, but it was blood something, and it was like their side project, and it came out on Xbox, and nobody really played it.
I don't even know.
But remember when?
That's I don't
Remember
even know
when?
that one. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If it was a one, I'm not on Xbox like that, so
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
go
I
over there
mean,
and play Kill Instinct once in a while. I'll see. If they have anything, that's how I know some of the games that are coming up or what they look like if they have trailers or whatever. Because you know, to do a podcast, you got to look and see what's going on. You
mhm.
know, and
Yeah,
what I see, I don't like. So I mean, I'm not over there. I'm on my PlayStation. You know, I mean, I just brought that up, but I don't think Bethesda will work like that. But again, if you want the games, okay, it's Xbox or PC. At least that's what we know for now.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's what we know for now. Okay. I mean, do you want to add anything more to that? I mean, because it's really straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, they took on a struggling publisher with some good games underneath it, and Doom is like the Doom and Wolfenstein are the granddaddies of first-person shooters, so there's still an audience for that. Like Wolfenstein 1 was good. 2, I didn't finish it yet, and I kind of got bored of it. But Doom Eternal, everybody who I know who's played it rave about it. So the other games underneath that window or that umbrella, they have a lot of work to do to change how badly those previous titles were. Like I think it was Fallout 76, which was like heavily criticized, and whenever the hell the next Elder Scrolls is going to come out. So yeah, there's a lot of work for them, and the fact that they have like 2,000 employees, new employees, additional employees, I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen with those individuals, because as we know, it's a business, and if Microsoft decides tomorrow, hey, we have 2,000 new employees, we don't really need them.
Too many.
Yeah. So let's get rid of like half of them. So yeah, I mean but once again, those are the decisions that none of us should even be worrying about. Like we shouldn't even be, like people shouldn't. It's messed up, but it's the unfortunate part of business.
Unfortunately, yeah. I did want to ask you if you could touch on it a little bit, because in listening to you and your stuff, I remember you talking about the gaming community, how it declined.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe you might want to touch on that a little bit over here, so to get it out to more people about what you were saying, because I thought it was a good topic.
I appreciate that. Well, the key word is community, right? So the fact that we call it a community, yeah, there are people within our little circles that we kind of stick together, and we kind of just like, there aren't many people I'll chat with outside of my circle. So like I consider you part of that circle, and like J.V.B, stuff like that, people like that, excuse me. But
Appreciate that.
Back when, like I was stating, 2005, when I got into all this, and people considered me too old to be talking about video games on something called podcasting, and then taking time out from my family life to go to events and to be, previewing the first Crackdown, and I was invited, I was flown over there, and then talking about, because I got crazy. I started talking about video games like on 4 different podcasts per week. And then I would be in like multiple communities, like websites. And then Trixie, who used to run like the community aspect of Microsoft, she created this thing with different websites where they would have a game night, and she would post different websites. I think it was like weekly. So let's say your website was featured, and it would have you as the owner, and then the people who are going to play that specific night. She joked around one time that my name was like on almost every freaking website, because I was so heavily involved in creating this community along with others, that because we wanted to get out of that stigma of being dorks, freaks, losers.
Right.
And I was always the person that would, not toot my own horn, but I would be the person to hit up other people. Hey, you want to be on my podcast? Hey, somebody's trying to get into podcast. Do you want to have them on your show? Or I would just simply invite them to my podcast. So I would take people's fucking personal numbers, call them if there was beef, and we would squash that. Like, there was never any of this internet beef that you see. We would squash it. Because back then there was more events. So people would see each other. And for the most part, when they saw each other, the one talking the most shit would always be like, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah. And then we would look at them like, oh, so now it's how you doing. So we would try to just squash it.
That's how it worked. Yeah, that's how it used to work.
Yep. So we would try to squash it and be like, yo, we're looking at a bigger picture, and together we'll make it work. And once and I got into that because I hated the PlayStation guys, because I used to try to find information on the new Xbox, when Microsoft announced the first one, and all I saw was like on this one website called Xbox Circle. And all you saw was like a swarm of PlayStation people like, this console is going to suck. This, what the hell does Microsoft know about a console? And I was like, you know what? These guys are annoying. Fuck them. So I avoided the PlayStation side of things. But as I created my own podcast, we eventually had to include it. So by then it was a little more balanced, because those same people who were talking crap about Xbox in the beginning eventually bought an Xbox 360 because it had the Call of Duties, it had the big exclusives, and new IPs like fucking Gears of War, Viva Pinata. Even though people laugh at that, but Cameo, there was a lot of big exclusives on the 360.
Yeah,
and there was this huge community. Like, people would literally be featured by Microsoft in various ways. Not Microsoft, the Xbox division, in various ways, and it paid off because there was this huge brand loyalty. But once they got rid of that and they started focusing on Connect and trying to reach a different audience, then that all
messed up.
Yeah, it messed up, and then people started seeing what PlayStation was doing and where the games, their new IPs, and people kind of said, all right, let's go back to where we came from. So now we have like the Wild Wild West. We have a few community and websites too. Websites used to be big back in the day, and social media kind of messed that up. So that's where you have more community, because you kind of control it. People would monitor the websites and somewhat control the insanity there. Now
Right.
it's the Wild Wild West. Nobody's monitoring social media, Twitter. And so you have anything goes. And that's why I feel like community, when people say the gaming community, it's really not a community. It's just a bunch of small little cliques, battling out within, the desert, in the gaming desert. Or like J.V.B likes to say, the gaming streets.
Yeah. But it's true, though.
Yeah,
It's
it's
absolutely
unfortunate.
true. It is unfortunate that people can't see. That's what I said. It's unfortunate that people can't. I mean, gaming's got a bad stigma attached to it to begin with. Okay. They're still saying to this day that people who commit certain violence, if
Yeah,
a violent act, that if they play video games, that's where they got it from. No, it's not where they got it from. If you're
Yep.
violent, you're just a violent individual.
Mental illness.
It has nothing to do. It has to. Or they say it's mental illness. No, they're just violent. It's not a mental illness. They're just violent, and that's another thing they got to stop doing, is making everything into mental illness or something like that, because it's not all mental illness. Some people are just fucking sick in the head.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what some people are, just violent. Okay. Some people are, what, for whatever reason, it could be maybe they went through shit in their life and just taking it out on everybody else. You don't know. Okay. You don't know.
The wrong moment at the wrong time, somebody pissed them off and they just lost it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with gaming.
Nah,
and they
remember
keep
they
putting
did the same thing about heavy metal,
Oh, that shit give me a headache. I don't like none of that shit. But yeah, they did. But yeah, it's just like, what makes it worse is people, like you said, in the Wild West now, here in the Wild West, saying this outlandish stuff and threatening people online and whatever.
Yeah. Doxing and all that.
And you're making it worse for the industry. You're making it worse for an industry that is fun.
Because now people have access to these developers, these publishers. There's not too much secrecy on the internet. So if some crazy decides, I'm doxing this particular developer, or I found where he lives, I'm going to go over there and pay him a visit, then that's a strong possibility that could happen. Didn't somebody do that with like the fat guy, Boogie, whatever his name is? Didn't somebody go to his house one time and he whipped out a gun on them?
I'm not sure.
I think I saw it on YouTube, but then again, like unfortunately, and I think there's also a problem. We become so desensitized to violence because we see it on our feeds as if it's just another event, and people are laughing. You see people laughing. You see people, and most of the time, it's somebody recording it instead of helping the person. They're just watching the person.
That's what I can't stand. Yeah, you can't. You're watching somebody get brutally beat up or murdered, and you're just filming it.
And the messed up part is when you go and you check out the video, and then the person who posted the video is like, "Oh, check out my line of clothing," or it's like, holy crap, you're like basically using this tragedy to sell yourself, and so you're nothing but an opportunist. Like you didn't post this for like awareness reasons, right? Yeah, like find this, murder or whatever. You posted it, so I was
able to I couldn't do anything. I was able to capture this, but maybe we can help capture this person.
yeah.
And so they don't do it for that. You're right. They do it for their own selfish reasons.
Oh yeah. And that's not everybody, but unfortunately it's the people that take the opportunity to do something like that. Because back in the day, that was considered a no-no. Like something like that was, you didn't want the families to be, seeing that on the internet, seeing their child murdered all over TikTok and Twitter and Facebook, and people laughing at it or making memes out of it. I've seen people make memes out of people getting punched and their jaw is like disconnected and everybody's laughing, and it's like, holy crap. Like we've become desensitized, and you see it so much, even though you try to avoid it. But I think that's where all the crazies come from, because it seems like everyone wants to outdo each other, and some take it to the extreme where they're killing people and recording it. I don't know if you saw the one where the dude recorded himself saying, "I'm gonna kill that guy," and walked up to an old fella and shot him, and his whole family had to watch that. So it's just a crazy world we're living in. It's like a bad movie.
Okay, but you just said something I was about to say. They're talking about video games making people violent, right? What about the movies that you allow to be put out by Hollywood? Come on, there's a lot of violence in movies. There's a lot of, and then they talk about other stuff that's, that they're putting in. I'm not even going to get into that one, but other stuff that they're slowly slipping into the movies, and now they're slipping it into video games that shouldn't be in there. Okay. Certain sexual things that shouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
Floating around,
more than ever, sexuality is like flaunted, like on regular TV. Whereas
that's what I'm saying. I mean, come on.
Growing up watching Growing Pains or Little House on the Prairie, you didn't see any of that craziness, and now it's like boom, right there.
It's like in your face. So how could they? I mean, this gaming, and I don't understand why people get so crazy online. See, that's why these people, these online gangsters, okay, are creating a bad name for fucking gaming, because they're on there threatening people's lives, and it's a video game, you idiot. It's a console. It's a piece of plastic. It's games. It's not real life. It's not like somebody is threatening your livelihood, so you could live, your home, your family. No, it's a video game. They whooped your ass in a game.
Exactly.
If you're playing a fighting game, or if you're playing a shooter, when you're on the other team, they shot your ass. All right, it's a video game. It's not like they're coming to your house with a gun.
So I think you're from Jersey, right?
Yeah.
And I'm from the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx, right? So when I was, I'm 48, so I go way back. So when me and my friends used to talk about video games, it was, as you would imagine, it was screaming at each other. It was arguing over which version of Mortal Kombat was better, between Sega, the one with blood, or the Super Nintendo with the green blood. It was Madden was Madden was better than Tecmo Bowl, you know, stuff like that. But we were doing it face to face. Sometimes we yell at each other, and then we were like, you know what? Let's just go inside and play. And then people would get mad.
And I'll
Sometimes we
show you
play for
who's
money.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
exactly,
say who? I'll show you. I'll show you which one's better. Come on
exactly. And then
inside.
at the end of the
Let me
day,
whoop your ass in the game. Yeah.
yep. At the end of the day, some people wouldn't talk for a day, but that was cool. Or like, here's a story of track and field in the arcades. Of in the corner of Burnside, there was a little section of a bodega that had all these video game arcades. Like, you could barely fit in it. And my friend and I would take turns in track and field because we were good at certain events. There was one name that we could not beat his fucking score. Finally, one day we beat it. A few days later, we see the dude. He goes, I heard it took two. I don't know how he knew. He goes, I heard it took two of you to beat me. I'm going to beat you guys. And the crazy thing was, he was a big drug dealer too. So we were like, oh shit, it was you? He goes, yeah, it's me. But that's how it was. It was like, look, this is my high score, or this is the console or the game that I prefer. You might not like it. We could talk trash about it. But at the end of the day, we still love the same hobby. So we'll respect each other for that, regardless of which console we like. None of that occurs nowadays. It's either you agree with my opinion, or you're a troll, or I hate you, you know, because we don't agree.
Or they try to slander you. They try to find out where you live, your personal information, to try to put it out there. They try to find photos and Photoshop you doing things you're not doing. I mean, it's crazy.
Yo, I know you know Tim Dog, and Tim Dog and I, when I had my old Twitter account that had almost 6,000 followers, my original J.V.B. account, and it started out cool, like talking about MLB the show, and then all of a sudden it went like haywire, where he was like, oh, I can't believe you said Flower is comparable to Halo. I'm like, where the hell did I say that? So he just, and I even told him, I'm like, dude, I'm convinced you got autism because you've been saying the same thing for 3 hours. I was like, leave me the fuck alone. So I went to sleep and he was still texting me. Well, not twittering at me till like 4 a.m. And so the next day I was like, holy crap. So I took screenshots and blah, blah, blah. One day, and he would talk crap about me a lot. One day he posted a photo across the street from my house, not my house, but the Best Buy near my house in Queens. And I'm like, this motherfucker's in Elmhurst. And I was like, holy shit. So he lives close. Lo and behold, I was like, hey, you know, of course I wasn't going to do it, but I was like, hey, Timmy, you're right in my neighborhood. Why don't you come have lunch and we'll talk, you know, joking around. He never answered me, but, yeah, I mean, people forget, like, you can easily find somebody, like, you're going to
But the thing
go crazy.
But you see what just happened? Most of these gangsters on Twitter and on YouTube will talk all that smack. You just invited him to lunch. No answer. Because they're scared. They got they could type a lot and say all this smack when they're typing, but they will never meet you face to face.
My wife was like, babe, what the hell's wrong with you? I said, no. You know, if he does say, okay, I said, we'll talk like normal people, you know. I said, I'm not going to really fight him. There was another situation.
Oh, you know what I wanted to? You know, I wanted to bring this up because since you mentioned your wife, when people were saying shit, when you were talking about the community, they were saying, well, you know, you're neglecting your family.
Oh, that was a big deal.
Wait, all right. But you know what, though? You assholes, at least he's home with his family. And he's only gaming. He ain't on Twitter acting a fool and letting his kids see him acting stupid or whatever. Okay. Yeah. He's talking about video games and what he likes about his passion, his hobby. Okay. That's not harmful to the family. What you people are doing and showing your kids is harmful to those kids because they're going to grow up being
Oh, it's embarrassing. Yeah, they're
YouTube and Twitter
embarrassing.
gangsters just like you.
Here's a story where I was interviewed to work for Xbox. A friend of mine worked for Xbox, and he was like, "Look, we have a position open. Sarah's going to move, and we need somebody to replace her." At the time, and I still believe they still do it, they would only hire for 1 year contracts. So it was like, it's only going to be for a year, and you got to move to Seattle. And my wife's like, "Yo, we'll do it." So I didn't get the job my friend did. So me being me, I was like, all right, I got to be ready for the next time that opportunity comes, because I wanted to work at Xbox badly. And so instead of doing 2 podcasts, which was Podtacular and my current podcast, Post Game Report, I was on Gamertag Radio. I was on freaking me and a group. We created a community called SFX 360, and we used to actually rent. There was a movie theater that would rent space, and they converted it into like a giant video game land thing. So it was crazy. So we used to do live podcasts there, and we used to do like charity events and all that. And I was like, I'm going to be ready for the next time. So one day I go to pick up the Halo comic book that just came out with my son. Actually, it was the 3 of us, my wife and my son. And I'm asking the guy, "Hey, when is that comic book coming out?" And he tells me, and then my son looks at me, and at the time he probably was 7. He goes, "Dad, you talk about Halo more than you talk about me." And my wife gave me the look like, "You fucked up." And that hurt. Like, that really shook me to the core, where I was like, holy shit, he's right. So I got to chill. So I cut a lot of stuff, obviously, and I kind of backed off. But yeah, people don't get like those of us that started podcasting when it wasn't popular, when it was difficult, and you had to like literally send a file to the guy who was going to edit your audio. Those of us, we had to make a choice. It was like, go into this new adventure, this new gaming community, this new podcast thing, and sacrifice some time away from your families and friends and try to build it. And that's what we did. And not to name drop, but I'm talking about guys who came up with me. Like, I mean, I know some people don't really think highly of him right now, but guys like Paris, he and I fucking were like tight, Godfrey from Gamertag Radio. So we were like right there. Like, Godfrey basically is what you would consider the one who started the video game stuff, podcasting anyway, within our community. And then I was like maybe 6 months after him, and then Paris came in, and then eventually we all worked together to build this community. So it's a lot of sacrifice that came with it. And now, people could easily talk their trash, create their videos, even from their mobile phone. So it's a lot easier to podcast. So yeah, like, people sacrificed a lot. And I almost, my son, if it wasn't for him calling me out, who knows? Maybe it would have been my wife next. So yeah, it wasn't worth it. I will say that.
Yeah, but you would do. But at least, like I said, you weren't out doing something stupid, though.
No,
Is what I'm
absolutely
saying.
not. Yeah.
You weren't doing anything. Your passion was your passion, okay. But you also put it in check, okay. You put it in check, okay. Now, one of the reasons I got into podcasting was because I got tired of some of these people after watching podcasts and podcasts and saying some dumb stuff.
Yep.
When I say dumb, I mean dumb. I was like, oh no, I gotta try to do this.
Right?
I gotta try to do something because they ain't making no damn sense. Okay, they're not.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had some fun. Like in the beginning, it was, I had some fun. And then I went through the hard period with people messing with you and doing all this, saying shit and
Yeah.
challenging you and doing all this. I mean, there are still people out there today that I probably challenged, like when I first came into podcasting, what, about 5 years ago, that I challenged to a fighting game or whatever, because they said, talking. And guess what? They still have not fought me
Accepted
yet,
your challenge
accepted my challenge.
because they're like, oh no, because if I lose, then never hear the end of it.
Like one. And listen, I like this person. Okay. I think he's funny. Okay. But Kid Smooth still has
Yeah.
not accepted my challenge. Okay. I don't, I don't have nothing against Kid Smooth, but Kid Smooth still haven't accepted my challenge to play. Okay.
That hopefully
And
he hears this and
I've even been on his podcast in the beginning. Long time ago, I was on his podcast. But yeah, a couple times. But yeah, I mean, you fight with people, you squash stuff. Like anybody that I could squash something with, it was squashed. Like if it was just a misunderstanding or whatever, I
Mhm.
squash it with. I have no problem with people. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do this to have beef with anybody. I did it to try to get the community to come together so we can get what we deserve as consumers. Let's
Yeah.
and speak up. Let's tell them what we want. Let's not accept things that are not acceptable.
Mhm.
Don't accept less and pay for what you expect to get. I use cars as an example. I mean, you pay for a brand new car and they give you a lemon. Are you not going to take that shit back? Hell yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
want my money back.
Yep.
Okay, and I use that with quality. With games, you go to certain places because that's what you want, like you used earlier. But it's also I use it with food. You got
Mhm.
certain favorite foods you like. You ain't gonna go to someplace else and settle for
Yeah.
less because they're 5 cents cheaper and not get the quality.
I'm gonna pick Peter Luger over Tad's Steakhouse any day of the week.
You know what I'm
If
saying?
I want quality, if I want
But that's
something
what I'm
cheap
saying.
and quick to go, then yeah, Tad's Steakhouse.
But you get what I'm saying. It goes with
Yep.
everything you buy in life. You want quality. You don't want to go get buy a brand new living room set for a couple $1,000 and you sit on it, or your kid sits on it. I ain't want to say an adult because then somebody will say, "Oh, you're fat." We'll say your kid, okay? Your skinny ass kid sits on the damn thing and it breaks, okay?
Or they tell
You don't
you, hey,
want
the
that,
legs will come next week.
yeah, or something like
Or in
that.
2 years you'll get the legs.
We forgot. Oh, we forgot to give you the cushions. They're being manufactured. We'll give them to
Yeah,
you
yeah.
when they're done. Sit on the wood that's underneath, or the
Exactly.
metal that's holding it together, the springs or something. But it's whatever you get. So I was trying. That's one of the things I was trying to do when it came to gaming, like you were doing, like bring the community together. That's all I did. I did the same thing you did. When somebody wanted to get into podcasting, I offered them to come on my show. I talked to them personally, you
Mhm.
know, in chats or whatever. I gave them advice. If they did do one, I would get on there with them,
Yeah,
to
that's
help
what
them
it's all about.
along or whatever. You know, I wasn't trying to hog no spotlight because who am I? I'm just one person. I don't think, I'm somebody that should be on top, of the YouTube world because I
Mhm.
talk about video games. No,
Yeah, yeah.
the more the merrier, in my opinion. Let's all come together. But my thing I don't like about podcasting, I like the ones that do it, you know, um, when they got something good to say. They're not
Mhm.
doing 3 and 4 shows a day. Okay.
Regurgitating the
Every
same thing.
day.
Yep.
Yeah, saying the same stuff. And that's
Yeah.
why I stopped watching some YouTubers because all they're doing is repeating what they said the day before. And then they're on. And that's the other thing. I never always wanted to be, I'll be a guest on somebody's here and there.
Yeah.
I'm not, I stopped doing that, being on somebody's podcast. Like I did my own and then I was on somebody else's and somebody, I stopped that. One, it was too much. And two, the main reason is that because they were repeating the same shit.
Mhm. Yeah,
I'm
you
not
don't
going to
want to you
keep
don't want to be
talking about
involved in
it.
something like that. Yeah, exactly.
Now, I would do my podcast, say, on a Tuesday. I'd be on somebody's on Wednesday and Friday, and they're talking about the same. Why aren't you saying? Because I just talked about this on Tuesday. Why do I want to and then I got to repeat myself? I don't want to
It's
do that. I don't want to. I want variety. That's why. That's another reason why I stopped doing so many podcasts.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Because after a
besides,
while, you burn yourself out.
well, it wasn't about burning myself out. It wasn't even about burning. Well, one, I went through a thing with my dad and other stuff, but it was also because everybody. First of all, there was no good gaming news.
Yeah.
And why do I want to talk about the same stuff over and over and over and over again?
You
Honestly, why do I want to do that?
you remember
It's boring.
you remember when I had you on my podcast and we're doing like an interview style
Hmm.
thing, and then not I'm not trying to say other people were like saw what I did, and I'm not saying that, but I saw that other people were doing the same thing, and so I stopped because that's how I am. I'm not, and it could be a flaw in my personality, but I've always been like that. If something,
You want to do something different.
yeah, yeah, and I
You want to set.
refuse to copy what other people do, and that's why I don't fit an algorithm. That's why even though I've been on YouTube since 2007, I got under 4,000 subscribers. I could easily like look, I don't know the guy. I don't really watch his stuff, but there are small occasions where I will. And I'm talking about Crap Gamer. He is a master at saying nothing on multiple occasions, but making it sound like he's saying something. Because I was
No,
like,
you're absolutely right. Because he don't
"Oh,
say shit.
yeah, yeah." And I was like, yo, I don't know what the fuck I came here for. So there are people who have the gift, and I don't. I'd rather have something.
You mentioned him, right? And you mentioned
Yeah,
Tim Dog before, right?
yeah.
Okay. These two got people to listen to it and jump in with them. They were arguing about who was bigger. Nah, you're a
Bigger
little
as
bigger than me. Nah,
popularity or something like that.
once again, talking about nothing, and people still listen. You're right.
Some people have the gift,
He can say a whole lot of shit, but say nothing.
and it has to be over that 10-minute mark because that's when you get the most, revenue. So, like I guess I study people sometimes, and I'm like, let me see what this guy is all about, and then I'm like, oh my god, why did I do that? And then um, and then there are some people who are good at it, some that will bring up topics and talk about them, and do it the right way. What I call the right way. It doesn't necessarily mean it is the right way, but I just don't. I've always been like that. I've always gone, excuse me, my way. And
Yeah.
if I see something is becoming what I did before was becoming somewhat familiar, then I try something different. And unfortunately, there's so much going on that it's kind of hard to stand out doing something new and different because it's only so much you can do that's different, especially
Yeah.
with video games
Yeah.
where everybody's reporting the same shit, like you said.
Yeah. I don't want to do that. Well, with that, I don't want to bore anybody with my history again. Um, but I think we hit on the topics we needed to for today. We're gonna head out because I'm getting a little hungry anyway. I didn't eat yet.
Nice. Yeah.
So we're gonna head out. So, but the people that are here, go check out Jose's channel. He has good topics. Okay, you heard him talking. He has good topics, and he tries to keep it as interesting as he can for people who are interested in gaming. Okay, and he brings out some good points. So go check his channel out.
My main
And see
goal,
what's happening over there.
you know what I learned, Nancy? My main goal is because I've been podcasting since 2005, I figured I owe the people who still listen to me to leave my podcast knowing something they didn't know before they started listening. And so that's why I talk about the stock market. I'll talk about photography, of course, video games, anything that can help somebody find something interesting or maybe create a new hobby within themselves, I try to do that, especially with the stock market. Like I've been talking about NFTs and,
Yeah.
telling people, hey, this could be the new
Well, well.
podcasting.
See, I know that you talk about different things. That's why I told them to go check out your channel
Yeah,
because
yeah. It's all
you
about,
know,
to me, it's all about teaching. Like that's the
yeah,
biggest change, I guess, from when I started to now. I'd rather teach people, and hopefully somebody, if one person takes something useful, then I did my job.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. Well, let people. I'm going to put your link in the description at the bottom so people can
Thank you.
just go
Yeah,
check it out.
I actually have two YouTube channels. I think the one
And I'm going to put it
that
on
you've
Twitter, my
seen
Twitter page.
is the post game report Twitter one. I mean, a YouTube one, which I that's where I
Well, I'll put
experiment, and then
yeah, I'll put my links, your links on my page so that people know where they can find you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So that we don't have to sit here and tell everybody everywhere you're at or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, no,
It'll
forget
just be
about
easier.
that.
I like to do that. If you're a good person and I think you have good content, I'll tell people. I'll put your links on my page. I have no
Thank you.
problem with doing that. Okay, so why
Same
don't you
here.
do your outro?
You can find me on Twitter. I think it's at J.V.B Beta Photos, and I have a podcast called Post Game Report on iTunes, and that I'll link on my Twitter. And I also have one involving my traumatic brain injury that I currently have. So I talk about that on a different podcast, and like my struggles going along, my daily struggles going along with the injury itself. So yeah, those are my three outlets, and then the YouTube stuff when you link it up.
Yeah. Okay. And y'all know who this is. This is your girl TTFP. Okay. And whether you're a troll or you're a gamer, okay, no matter what happens and no matter what I say or do, to this day, y'all still love me. I'm out of here. Later.
Later.